to welcome members to the rescheduled 22nd of September 2021 Council. Can I remind members to stand when speaking? I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting is being recorded and will be published on the Council's website. I would like to ask Reverend Canon Durham Barlow to lead us in prayer. We will be holding a minute's silence tonight to reflect on the sad loss of Sir David Ames. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Of all the months of the year, November seems to be a time of remembering. And I suspect that all of us here this evening took part in an act of remembrance 10 days ago on Remembrance Sunday. After all... I'll speak a bit more. No? Okay, I'll carry on speaking loudly. After all the restrictions of 2020, it was lovely to see so many in attendance in Grace High Street and across the borough, paying their respects, recalling the sacrifice of so many in the 2 world wars and other conflicts that have followed and continue this day. Most of these eventual conflicts began without ever expecting things to deteriorate in the way that they did. Therefore, as we gather this evening for the final full council meeting of 2021, we do so needing to take personal responsibility for our words, our actions and our deeds, and always strive to diffuse conflict and not behave in any way that encourages others to act recklessly. If we consider ourselves to be community leaders, then we are called to be peacemakers. And we've all seen a very powerful example of that in the words and deeds of the widow and family of the late Sir David Ames, who was so needlessly murdered in a quiet side road of Leigh-on-Sea on the 15th of October. Sir David's widow, Julia, and 5 adult children have sought no revenge, and in fact have asked for calmness and encouraged community cohesion. And so this evening, as we remember and give thanks for the life of a fellow public servant, we seek to follow his good example and that of his family in always striving for what is good, what is best, what is affirming and encouraging of others. If you're able to, please stand as we hold a minute's silence in memory for the life of Sir David Ames. So let us pray. We thank you, O God, for all who serve their local communities, and as we give thanks for the life of Sir David Ames, so guide and direct us as we seek to serve the people of Thurrock. Amen. I'd like to be seated.
Apologies of absence. I have received apologies from Councillors Collins and Councillor Salmons. Are there any other apologies of absence? Councillor Gredder.
Maybe in attendance, but a little bit late as he's running late from another appointment.
two sets of minutes to be approved. I move that the minutes for the meetings of the Council held on the 30th of June 2021 be approved and recorded. Is that seconded?
Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is any member in disagreement of the accuracy of the minutes? No. The minutes are approved. Yeah. I move that the minutes of the meeting of the Council held on the 21st of July 2021 be approved as a correct record. Is this seconded?
Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is any member in disagreement of the accuracy of the minutes? The minutes are approved or are subject to amendment in the minutes of Right. Items of urgent business. I have not agreed to any urgent items of business. Declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest to be made? Announcements on behalf of the Mayor and the Leader of the Council. I would like us to take a moment to remember Thurrock Fallen of World War II on page 7 of the agenda. August 1941, Bar Harold G, Faulkner George N, Tuck Alfred J A, Hart Frank R. September 1941, Parry Lewis D, Cottis Walter L, Sparks Edwin W and Aldridge Leslie Frederick. I would just like to make an announcement. As you all know, the past 18 months since the first lockdown started in March 2020 has brought some unprecedented challenges. Those 18 months have also shown us numerous examples of charitable and selfless actions. I encourage nominations as part of my mayoral COVID recognition. I am pleased to be able to say that I received a remarkable response of over 450 nominations for the COVID staff. Those who were nominated should receive their certificates of recognition in the post soon as a small token of appreciation. There were so many people whose incredible generosity and support has helped Thurrock residents during the COVID pandemic. I just want to say a big thank you to all of those who have nominated the heroes, and thank you to all those who stepped up and helped someone else. Councillor Gledhill, do you want to make any announcements?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'll try and keep it short. Obviously, there's a huge amount on the agendas, plural, this evening. With Christmas on the horizon, I'd like to take this opportunity to urge everyone to remain sensible and to continue taking precautions against contracting and spreading COVID-19. We all want to have a good Christmas celebration this year with our friends and family, but let's not risk yourself and others during those times. The absolute best way to protect yourself, of course, is by having both vaccinations and, if eligible, the booster. As a top-line figure, 2/3 of residents in Thurrock have received 2 vaccinations. This still means that, disappointingly, about 30% or thereabouts of eligible residents have not taken up the offer or are not fully protected. This 2/3 isn't uniform across all ages. There is a much higher percentage of those in the over 40s that received both jabs and indeed receiving their boosters than there are in the under 40s. The under 40s, the percentile there is much, much greater. The vaccine the vaccine safety and effectiveness has been proved on a global scale, so I strongly urge anyone who's not yet received it to take up the offer as soon as possible. In terms of our local rates in Thurrock, we've been increasing from an average of 69 new cases per day in October up to 107 per day in November. That's nearly double in only a few weeks. This shows us that we cannot become complacent, and it remains very important that we all do our utmost to stop spreading this virus throughout our families and communities. So I would ask that people still continue to wash their hands, respect the wishes of others who wish to continue to socially distance or cover their faces, and indeed ventilate crowded indoor gatherings. I was fortunate enough to be at the Sikh temple with Councillor Tandy on Sunday, and it was great that that message was out there then, and they opened up all the windows and indeed encouraged everybody who attended the temple on Sunday to have their jabs. Moving on and linked, earlier this month we launched our new campaign, Shop Safe, Shop Local, with the support of many independent businesses across the whole of the borough. Lakeside, as we know, is one of our brilliant assets for Thurrock, but we also have many high streets with a fantastic mix of shops and places to eat there. These small and often family-run businesses are the beating heart of our town, and since the restrictions have been lifted, they really have done an incredible job to make sure their patrons are safe. So I would ask that when we're out this Christmas shopping for our loved ones, to think about the shopping safe and shopping local. It helps local businesses, it helps employ people locally, creates money for our local towns, it boosts local communities, and it helps our towns thrive. Now, I hope this new campaign that we've got going will inspire more people to think about shopping local and give residents the confidence that they can shop safely whilst doing so. I'm also going to take this opportunity to thank all the businesses who've already backed our campaign. And remember, again, please, all of us stay safe when shopping. Very briefly, going to touch on the enforcement success from last week. I took part in an operation with the police where we were stopping van drivers over the Thursday and Friday. Each day we stopped over 50. We've managed to issue fixed penalty notices worth more than £3,000, seized 3 vehicles for no insurance, 1 vehicle that was not roadworthy, reported 1 individual for not having a driving licence and another one for no MOT. This just goes to show that we work very well with our colleagues in Essex Police, and we will continue to do so to clamp down on this crime of fly tipping. One thing I'm sure you forgot to mention earlier is Give a Gift has started. And I would again encourage all members to take part in this. It's online as well as in person. All the details are on our website and have been sent to all members already. And finally, with this being the last meeting of the year, I'd like to extend a season's greetings to absolutely all of the members here. So do really have a fantastic Christmas this year. Do it safely, and that's the same for all residents. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Oh. Madam Mayor, can I ask a point of order on that one?
What would you like to ask?
I'd just like to say that we're talking about ventilation and windows, and there's not one person here wearing a mask. I think, what are you talking about? Leader, you haven't even got one, have you? There's nobody in here with a mask. The speech don't mean anything, does it, when nobody's protecting themselves? I've had full-blown COVID. It's rubbish, isn't it?
Moving on, questions from members of the public. I will now take questions from the public. 3 questions have been submitted and accepted by the monitoring officer. These are set out on page 49 of the agenda. For the benefit of the recording of this meeting, I will ask that the questioner read out the question when asked to do so. We have up to 30 minutes for this item. Therefore, can I please ask that questioners and members be as brief as possible in their questions to ensure that we cover as many of them as submitted tonight. I would also inform the questioner that any supplementary question they may ask should not take the form of a statement and must be related to the original question or the answer that is given. First question this evening is from Mr. Perrin. Mr. Perrin, please read out.
I love this man. 23rd.
Mr Perry, please read out your question as set out on page 49 of the agenda.
Councillor Jeffries, can you confirm that it is a council rule that tenants, residents must remove refuse bins after being emptied from public areas, for example, pavements?
Councillor Jeffries, would you like to answer the question, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr Perry. To ensure the safety of pedestrians, wheelchair users and pushchairs, we ask residents to remove bins from the pavement after collection and only represent them prior to collection. It's really important that residents enable the free flow of pavements to assist in keeping our neighbourhoods safe. All local authorities carrying out domestic waste collections are subject to the Environmental Protection Act. The removal of domestic wheel bins after collection falls within section 46 of the EPA, which provides the Highways Authority with the consent for placing of receptacles for that purpose on the highway. As the local Highways Authority, we are able to allow residents to use the public highway to present their bins to the curbside, and we also have the ability to stipulate that bins must be removed from the public highway after the bins have been emptied.
Mr Perrin, do you wish to propose a supplementary question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm finding it difficult to follow what you've had to say, so I'm just going to read what my supplementary is. This is not the first time I've asked this question and been told that it is a council rule that refuse bins must be removed from public areas. There is very little evidence, if any, the council is enforcing this rule. In addition to the wheelie bins, pedestrians have to contend with the excess rubbish dumped on the pavement, such as discarded fridges, furniture and other sundry items too large for the bin. Pedestrians, especially the elderly, also have to contend with cyclists, mobility scooters, battery-powered scooters, cracked and uneven paving stones. In short, some pavements are possibly downright dangerous and at the very least are a real threat to the well-being and safety of the pedestrians who walk them. Councillor Jeffries, will you take action to ensure pavements are safe for pedestrians?
Question. It's one of those difficult situations, Mr Perrin, whereby the council don't actually have powers to prosecute people. It would be quite difficult to establish who's left their bins out, whether it was deliberate, whether the bin's been left out for collection. So we don't actually have powers. We are looking at this to see if there is something that we can do with our enforcement officers. What I would say to any resident, if there's fly tipping on the pavements, to report it, and we normally remove it within 24 hours at the latest. I share your annoyance at people leaving bins out on the street longer than they should be, and I would urge all residents to take them back in so that the footpaths are kept clear. And like I say, any fly tipping, please report it, and it should be cleared within 24 hours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Question 2, Mr Seeger is unable to attend this evening, so as a written response will be sent out to him.
Okay.
Question 3, Mr Williams.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr Williams, please read out your question that's set out on page 49 of the agenda.
Thank you. Councillor Coxall, concerning the demolition of the Thameside Theatre complex threat, we briefly note the key following facts. 1. The recently issued property agent's site sale particulars of the Titan Works for housing lists positive Grays facilities, London links, shopping, eateries, etc., and the new 10 million council offices over 900 yards away, yet glaringly excludes any mention of the Thameside Theatre complex facility right beside the Titan Works, indicating they appear to know that it will be demolished if possible. Your highways, on point 2, has to accept that Titan Road, at current width of 25 feet, curb to curb plus its footpath, is already wide enough second vehicular access to serve the Titan Works bit in conjunction with its newer Hog Lane access. Will you therefore confirm that the use of Titan Road as a second access to serve half of the approximately 700 possible homes development will not require the closure and demolition of the Thameside complex in order to further widen Titan Road for that housing?
Councillor Coxall, please respond to the question.
You are misinformed. I have never ever seen any linking these both these sites. The Thurrock Council has not received any plan application for the site in question. So, and if the Thurrock Council ever, the developer submits, the highways officer will of course carry out a detailed assessment of the access to the site originally. What I can say is, making 2 and 2 make 6 is a bit disappointing. What the property agents say in their written sale submission particulars, I, myself, or Thurrock Council have no power over.
Yes, it's also revealing what they didn't say, which is the point that I was making. I found it astonishing that there's no talk of CPOing the first shop unit on the west corner of Titan Road back to at least the rear line of the complex and widening it that way, cheaper and quicker. But given that Titan Road is the same width, 26 feet, as that which has successfully served the 300 plus houses in nearby Badger Dean for over 30 years, nevertheless, has the Thameside complex so far been the subject of any pre-app redevelopment submissions? Just the dates, please. And were those submissions, assessments, carried out against any produced design brief covering that part of Graystown Centre that either includes or a design brief solely for the Thameside complex?
Mr Williams, did you listen to the first answer before giving me the second one? Because I said no. In the first answer, you are misinformed. There is no plans to link ever these sites, or the Thurrock Council will see, or myself, of any plan application or design that you're talking about. Please don't make things up. Or just think that 2 and 2 make something. They don't. There is no plans, never. What do we want me to say? We have not seen anything. Never.
Yes, I specifically referred to design briefs, and I don't think you referred to design briefs in your first answer to me, but that's fine. That's cleared the air over that. I'm grateful for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Petitions from members of the public and councillors. Please be advised that in accordance with the council's petition scheme, no notices of petitions have been received. Update report in respect of those petitions presented at council and council offices. This report will be found on page 51 to 54 of the agenda and is information on the status of petitions handed in at council meeting and council offices. Appointments to committees and outside bodies, statutory and other panels. Councillor Gledhill, do you wish to make any changes to appointments previously made?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On Children's Overview and Scrutiny Board, can I remove Councillor Little and thank her for all her service on that particular meeting and replace her with Councillor Tandy, who's currently a substitute. I don't have another substitute at this time.
Councillor Kent, do you wish to make any changes to appointments previously made?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Pottercree will be leaving Corporate Parenting Committee to be replaced by Councillor Worrell. Councillor Watson will be appointed as a substitute on the Housing Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and I would like to be appointed as a substitute to all committees of which I'm not already a substitute, with the exception of the Planning Committee.
Councillor Bowen, would you like to make any changes?
No.
Councillor Messon? No. Okay. Is any member in a disagreement with the nominations made? Motions made, sorry. To receive report from the Cabinet, Councillor Maney is Cabinet Member for Transport and Highways. Would you please introduce your report? This report will be found on pages 701 to 716.
701, I got that, haven't I? I don't get to 701. 701? I thought you said 701.
Hello.
10 and 11.
Item 10 and 11.
I've been dealt with already.
Ah,
They've already been agreed outside the meeting, sorry.
all right. Yeah.
Councillor Maney, as Cabinet Member for Transport and Highways, would you please introduce your report? This report can be found on pages 101,
83.
701 to 716.
All 79.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to be finally presenting this report.
Don't know then.
Can you hear me, Madam Mayor? Right, sorry. As I was saying, Madam Mayor, like so many services across the council, those within the Highways, Transport and Planning departments have been impacted upon by the pandemic, and this has affected operations as well as income. Despite this, I'm pleased to report that we have risen to the challenges of the past 20 months and delivered an ambitious agenda. It's worth reminding ourselves, Madam Mayor, that the Council is responsible for an extensive highways network, including 545 kilometres of carriageway, 700 kilometres of footway and cycle paths, 21,000 street lights and numerous structures and items of street furniture, all of which require a rigorous year-round inspection and maintenance effort. Madam Mayor, it should comfort members to know that 4,586 safety inspections have been carried out this year alone, resulting in a high number of repairs. This includes the filling of nearly 5,000 potholes, in respect of which we continue to exceed our KPI target of a 98% repair rate within time frame. The recently completed jet patching operations across the borough have ensured many additional carriageway repairs ahead of winter. More evidence, Madam Mayor, of this administration's clean it, cut it, fill it agenda in action. Madam Mayor, with increasing traffic on our roads, the upkeep of our network proves ever more challenging. But from last year's capital programme, the Council has resurfaced 41 roads in the borough, equating to over 90,000 square feet of road space. The Council continues to invest in our pavements too, and thanks to this administration's slab replacement programme, footway repairs and reconstructions have taken place at locations across the borough from Aveley to Corringham. But the investment does not end there, Madam Mayor. We know that street lighting helps reduce antisocial behaviour and make our residents feel safe. That is why I'm pleased to announce that following on from the completion of our LED programme, this administration will over the next 2 years be spending £350,000 replacing and upgrading our older street lighting infrastructure. Madam Mayor, nothing ranks more highly than our road safety agenda. The ITB programme approved by Cabinet this year allowed for £700,000 to be allocated to safety measures, including vital engineering projects such as junction improvements on the A128 and the borough's second average speed camera system in Lodge Lane. A £2.4 million spent from the Safer Roads Fund will also enable safety measures along the A126, including the Marshwood Road junction with the A1089. And under our Safer Routes to School programme, 4 new safety enhancement schemes have been delivered, and we will continue to work towards making travel to and from our schools a key priority. Madam Mayor, despite not being a direct service provider, the Council is aware of the need for a reliable public transport network, and I'm pleased to report that we have been supporting our local bus operators via the COVID Bus Service Support Grant and making travel more appealing with an extensive shelter replacement programme, which will include the installation of digitalised information screens at some locations. The Council has also worked hard on producing a bus service improvement plan for submission to government. As much as we invest, Madam Mayor, so must we enforce, and I extend my thanks to our dedicated team of CEOs. Not only do they provide a vital service, they are a reassuring uniform presence in our communities. That is why it gives me great pleasure to announce that I've approved plans for a doubling of our CEO team. This 100% increase will mean more action against those who flout the rules and make life difficult for others. And starting next year, following recent approval from Cabinet, we will commence the seizure of vehicles belonging to persistent offenders or motorists who park in contravention of a waiting restriction and cause a danger or obstruction in so doing. An area of intense focus for the parking team is HGV enforcement. With growing numbers of HGVs on our roads, their impact is often felt by our communities when drivers park irresponsibly. This administration has listened and delivered a robust response. In January 2021, the government received time-limited government funding in order to extend HGV enforcement activity, and this has enabled us to pursue operations up until 2:30 a.m. The results are clear to see, and our extra investment in the parking enforcement team means that these extended hours of operation can continue. Since January this year, 3,322 penalty charge notices have been issued for HGV parking violations, averaging a little over 300 per month and amounting to a combined value of £175,068. It is anticipated that purge operations will begin in the new year in order to target those who do not pay. Working with our partners, we've also been looking at ways to address nuisance HGV activity where parking enforcement regulations do not apply. The following enforcement actions have been taken against companies whose drivers park in such a way as to cause nuisance, obstruction or damage to our footways and grass verges. 98 community protection warnings have been issued, 47 community protection notices and 98 fixed penalty notices for non-compliance with a CPN.
Councillor Manning, can you sum up, please?
Residents and members alike can rest assured that where the law allows us to do it, we have the means to deliver. We will go after all motorists who disregard the rules and blight our communities. Their time dictates that I should conclude my report, but there is much more I could have spoken about. In drawing to an end, I must simply extend my thanks to the officers within the Highways Transport and Planning teams. I've had the privilege of holding 3 separate portfolios since 2004, and I can say with certainty that I've never been more impressed with the calibre of officer under my remit. However, Madam Mayor, it pains me to say that for some time, officers in the Highways and Transport team have been subject to unacceptable conduct by a handful of elected members. I think you'll agree, Madam Mayor, that no officer of the Council should receive abusive emails, see their name posted on social media, nor be made to feel uncomfortable at work. The decisions they take are in line with the policies and budgets that we as members set. I am coming to the end, Madam Mayor. I just want to say that I've seen emails from some councils which fall well below the standards that those in elected office should adhere to. I know the vast majority of members from across the political divide will join me in calling for officers to be treated with respect and decency. That concludes my report, Madam Mayor.
Come back the same way,
Thank you. Councillor Perrin, as shadow portfolio holder for Transport and Highways, do you have any questions to ask?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your report, Councillor Maney. Firstly, I'd like to ask, in terms of parking enforcement, you've thank you. First, I'd like to ask, in terms of parking enforcement, on page 85 you talk about parking enforcement, and I just wondered what plans you have to make parking enforcement much more joined up. At the July Council meeting we had a motion from Councillor Worrell that proposed a particular joined up area around some particular schools. And I wonder whether we are looking at that kind of plan across the borough so that different areas of parking hotspots are actually getting their enforcement that they need. And I wonder what plans you have for more joined up enforcement across borough hotspots.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, as I said in my report, we're doubling the size of the CEO team, so that should make our operations easier across the board. I have to say, I think that I'm not entirely sure what you mean by joined up. I wasn't at the July meeting, so maybe I missed something there. But our officers will always respond based on intelligence. So where we believe there is a problem, that will factor into the patrols that our officers undertake. So I'm personally reassured that there is already a joined-up approach. As I said, I can't say any more than that. Our officers do, I know they do, they respond to intelligence. Where they patrol is based on where we get high levels of violations. But I think the biggest asset to the team will come when it is doubled in size and we'll be able to carry out many more operations. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Perrin, do you have any further questions to ask?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Talking about active travel now, your report mentions the £690,000 that has been received as part of active. Thank you. That has been part of the active travel fund. Obviously, this amount is far short of what was originally promised by the government. So what I'd like to explain to us, please, is what reasons were given by the government for reducing the amount for tranche 2. Thank you.
Councillor Maynard?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No reasons were given. We made our submission and they made an allocation accordingly. I have to say I can't view, I mean that's £600,000 plus you mentioned, of course, was on top of a more than £200,000 allocation. So I can't personally view that as a negative award. It's a huge sum of money we wouldn't have had otherwise. I mean, it took a pandemic to get it. We shouldn't lose sight of that. But I have to say that the money was gratefully received. But in answer to your question, no reasons were given at all by government. They simply looked at our submissions and made an allocation accordingly.
Thank you very much. Now, just to finish off, looking at highways and the roads, I noticed that there's no mention of the A13 in this report. So what I'm wondering is, based on sort of the delays and the overspend, I wonder if you would personally support a local government association peer review into the A13.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, the delivery of that project rests with my colleague, Councillor Council, of course. So your question would be best directed to him. I personally don't see any need for a review. That project, we know the problems there, but frankly, it is continuing, and when it's completed, it will be a major benefit to the residents of this borough. We all would have hoped it had gone more smoothly, but we are where we are. I don't think any more reviews, any more delays are in order. We just need to get the job finished.
Thank you. I will ask Councillor Anderson as Chair of Planning, Transport and Regeneration Opinions Scrutiny Committee. Would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Cabinet have approved a new approach to managing the borough's street lighting network, allowing for light levels to be dimmed at night. Can the portfolio holder assure us that the council will not adopt a policy of park night lighting as seen in other authorities?
No.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor, for your question. I can assure you categorically that this administration, far be it for me to speak ill of Conservative colleagues in other parts of the county, the fact of the matter is we won't be following their path and dimming our lights at night. They will stay on. As I said in my report, we know that residents feel safer, we know that ASB is reduced, we have good quality street lighting, and that's going to continue here in Thurrock.
Councillor Campbell, do you wish to speak?
Madam Mayor, I was pleased to hear the portfolio holder say in his comments that travel to and from schools is a key priority. As has already been mentioned, at the July meeting, Councillor Worrell brought a motion forward asking for help to improve the dreadful parking and congestion problems in Ward Avenue and surrounding streets caused by St Thomas County School. Unfortunately, that motion wasn't successful. However, the situation is as bad as ever, if not worse. So will the portfolio holder agree to look again and see what help he can offer to help alleviate these problems?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm always happy to look and re-look at any problem to see, what we can do to resolve that. I will reiterate again that we are doubling the size of our CEO team, and that will make operations outside schools much easier. I do have to remind members, though, that schools are responsible in no small part for managing traffic and safe travel by pupils to and from schools themselves, and we're reliant on them producing school travel plans. Where they do that, we'll work with them, and that will include sensible safety and enforcement measures. But unfortunately, where they don't do that, the onus is on them. It's not the council's problem from start to finish. Where they don't do that, it does hinder us. So yes, I'm happy to look at it. It will require the cooperation of the schools concerned. If there is a solution, then I'm happy to ask that it be brought forward.
So, do you wish to speak?
Yes, Councillor. Well, I take it that dig about respect was about my emails, which I'm happy with every email I sent, but surely respect has to go both ways, so the officers got to respect us as well. So you haven't mentioned that. It's not one way, it's both ways.
Councillor Massey, do you wish to speak?
Testing. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your report, Councillor. Just one quick question. Having come from a ward where HGVs have been a big problem for a long time, I'm pleased to say that's hopefully been alleviated shortly, I have noticed nuisance parking popping up. So when you're talking about doubling the size of the CEO team in regards, is that going to include the evening HGV nuisance parking team?
Councillor Mangan?
Very much so, Madam Mayor, which is why I said in my report that we will be able to continue the nighttime operations when the government funding runs out. That's entirely investment from this Conservative administration that we will be able to carry on these nighttime operations.
Are there any further questions?
No.
Councillor Mundine?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor May, for your talk.
PA13, that's just it.
In June, I reported over 80 potholes in Sabina Road in Chadwell and requested that Sabina Road be resurfaced. Some of these potholes were then filled by jet patching. Unfortunately, I understand from local residents that this type of repair doesn't last very long, and within a matter of months will need to be done again. This doesn't seem very cost effective. Will the portfolio holder commit to a long-term solution with proper resurfacing of this and other seriously affected roads in Chadwell?
Councillor Manning, do you wish to sum up? Oh, hold on a minute.
Also.
Right, would you like to sum up, Councillor Manning?
Would you like me to answer the question?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Well, Chadwell St Mary seems to be the bane of my life because since the election of a certain councillor, Councillor Carter, I can assure you and your residents that the highways, the walkways and the cycleways in Chadwell have been more attention than ever before. What I will say though is that Chadwell St Mary will be judged in accordance with the same policies as any other area, and where they meet intervention levels, rest assured intervention will follow, but we don't go around just picking roads out for the fun of it. Most roads in the borough are inspected on an annual basis, and where they require intervention, that will happen. It won't be just because a certain person raises it. I can't really say more than that. I mean, I've said top, we carry out work where they meet the policy threshold, and if the roads that you're concerned about do, we will resurface them. Where they don't, I'm afraid we'll carry out the necessary work to make sure that they're safe and usable.
Councillor Bass, you would like to ask questions? Sorry, I didn't see you.
Thank you, Councillor, for your report. My question is, you have just mentioned the reconstruction of Stone House Lane, but a small section of roundabout at bottom of Stone House Lane was left unrepaired. Can you please tell us why this was left over and when will you repair this? Thank you.
Councillor Bailey, would you like to answer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't know who was responsible for drawing the line in the road where the works would stop. I mean, they have to stop somewhere, and I guess that, you know, the judgment was made that from the point where the work stopped, the road surface thereafter was in a serviceable condition. If that's not the case, and you have concerns as members, then please bring them to the attention of officers, and they will respond accordingly. But even if, I'm sure, if we had gone into the road space that you're talking about, you'd still be asking the question, why didn't you do the bit after that? There isn't a limitless amount of funding, and they have to stop somewhere.
Councillor Manley, would you like to sum up now?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think I've actually said all I wanted to say. It was all in my original speech. At the period out of wanted me to sum up for you further questions, I'm quite happy, but obviously that's your discretion, Madam Mayor.
Is there any other questions on that? Right. The second portfolio holder report will be from Councillor Mains. As Cabinet Member for Health and Air Quality, would you please introduce your report? This report can be found on pages 717 to 742.
742.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to start off by thanking all NHS staff and healthcare professionals who have supported our residents through the COVID-19 pandemic over the last 18 months.
Is he on?
Extremely difficult 14 months since my last portfolio holder report for everybody. We've had another lockdown, tier systems, and all the difficulties that has brought to the residents of Thurrock and around the country. Although it was difficult, it was essential to do all we can to save lives and protect the NHS. This year, we have also seen the monumentally successful rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines, which has enabled the government to release restrictions for as close to normal life to resume as possible. In Thurrock, as of the 18th of November, there have been 107,486 first doses of vaccine and 100,603 second doses given, which is approximately 80%. That is a remarkable achievement considering where we started. 69%. And to everyone involved in the COVID-19 vaccine rollout, I want to say thank you. Despite the difficulties of this past year, we have continued to work with our partners across the health service in Thurrock to continue to improve from completing the strategy on brighter futures and implementation is underway to transforming the UNIM service for our young people to have the wraparound supports that they need for them and their parents. Works are continuing on the 4 IMCs, and although there have been delays, this administration and our partners in the healthcare sector are committed to delivering the IMC model and implementing all of the primary care transformation benefits that will bring. We are all aware of the difficulties placed on GPs with the vaccine rollout and catching up for the past 18 months. However, some GPs have been better at returning to face-to-face access to appointments than others, and I have been working with the CCG and will be planning to visit GPs throughout Thurrock and now restrictions have been lifted. This will enable me to see what is happening and speak to people that are delivering the service and work with the CCG and GPs who are the ones that are delivering the service. In regards to adult mental health transformation, the successful trial of the new strategy is being rolled out at PCNs within Thurrock, which will bring improved access to services. We know more must be done, and we continue to monitor and work with our partners to ensure things get better, especially after the last 18 months that have greatly affected many people's mental health. Moving on to air quality, we are actively recruiting an air quality officer, which will enable us to complete our full air quality and ambient air review, which is greatly needed in our borough. This will also look at issues such as the Tilbury dust, which has plagued the Tilbury residents for far too long. I want to be in a position to give answers and improve air quality in Tilbury and around the borough, and a review will enable us to push forward with this. That concludes my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Carey, as shadow portfolio holder for air quality, do you have any questions you'd like to ask the portfolio holder?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much, and thank you for your portfolio. Sorry to find you there, thank you for your report. I wanted to touch on it very, very briefly, but I wonder if you could give us a bit more detail about the issues of underdoctoring that Thurrock finds itself in. Obviously, recent data from the Nuffield Trust was released suggesting that Thurrock has third worst in country record for sort of GP to patient ratio, and the rest of South Essex and Mid Essex doesn't fare much better. So obviously it's a region-wide issue. Could you give us a bit more detail about what you see are the key drivers of that problem and how you feel that the best route out, obviously working with partners, would be?
Thank you for your question. We know this. You know, this is a breaking news. We need to try and attract more GPs into the bar. The way to do that is to make a much better working environment for GPs. Because if you're a new budding GP who wants to go into a practice, you're going to want to move into an area that's transforming their primary care services and looking to deliver. And actually, what we do really well in Thurrock is we actually do a Thurrock model. We actually lead the way in looking at our services. So that is what we need to continue and actually look at delivering these IMCs in the timely fashion that they need to be delivered.
And Perfect Karen, do you have any further questions?
I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I think timely might have been a little while ago, Councillor Mays, but yeah, we all know the problems that the council has faced with the IMCs. So my second question is about Oxford Hospital. Obviously, we've been through COVID, which has been an absolute seismic event. I mean, I don't know about anyone else, but it's certainly nothing as big as it's ever happened in my lifetime. There were obviously plans to close the hospital, which seem to have at least been put on hold whilst the hospital was maybe serving other purposes during the COVID outbreak. Just wondering if the COVID outbreak has actually led to any rethinking of spaces like Oxford Hospital that might have part of future situations where we don't necessarily know how much space and the type of resources we're going to need.
Question for the NHS.
Thank you, Councillor, for that question. You are correct. Obviously, it's played its part during this pandemic. However, the MOU, the services at Oxford Hospital will be moving out. I spoke to the CCG and colleagues about this. 2025 is still the date for that. There has been no movement on delaying that. That is where we're at the moment. So what we need to do is make sure that things such as the Grays IMCs and the other IMCs will allow us to do services like that moving forward, because obviously we see the benefit of that with COVID-19 pandemic.
Councillor Karen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillors. I don't think this is on, actually. I have to put it on. I'll just have to use my projecting voice. Yes, so my... Oh, there it goes. Yes, thank you. So my final question is about air quality, which is sort of actually what I shadow you on. For me, air quality is probably the biggest challenge facing this borough. It is wrecking people's health. It is making the borough, a less than pleasant place to live when there is so much going for this borough and it should be a really great place to live. And air quality is a huge issue, and I'm glad to see there's a part of the report on this. You'll be aware that I'm frustrated. I'm incredibly frustrated. We seem to talk about this, all the time. We seem to say a lot of words, but nothing ever actually seems to happen, and no bold plans or radical action seems to be proposed. And I feel that there were bold and radical ideas around in 2015, 2016, but were sort of shelved and have never really been properly revisited. So what I'm asking you is, I understand that you're waiting for the data, but that feels like we've been waiting for 2 or 3 years just for that. What we actually need is we need a strategy. We know what works. We know what can sort this out. We know the problems. We know the challenges. Can you commit to some kind of action or timetable? When will this situation improve? When will we see radical action? When will you actually deliver on your promises?
That's nice.
Thank you, Councillor, for that. Obviously, to make any improvements, you need to have facts, not just assumptions. And I know we have a lot of data on this, and we are moving forward. Simple things like, it was early last year, it might be in addition, Cabinet approved a electronic charging thing for the borough, so actually we can start to, as a borough, start to move forward to electronic vehicles, because actually we know that that's quite a big factor with pollutants, with vehicles. So things are moving forward, but until we get a properly qualified air quality officer,
Thank you. I will move to Councillor Ralph as Chair of Health and Wellbeing Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your report. The question I asked, you have actually covered some of it in your report, and that was regarding face-to-face contact with GPs. Going forward, what can residents do if they feel that they're still not getting that as a result, with still getting reports coming into us that it's still really hard to get a face-to-face appointment with your GP? Are we seeing any improvement on this?
Face-to-face access, I think we all are. And actually, the data that has been provided to me has seen an increase this month, actually, or September, because that's when the data was here. So therefore, we are seeing an increase on it. But what I would say is anybody that isn't getting the service which they feel, they should report to the practice manager within their GP surgery, because there are actual procedures in place. So if you're not happy, you don't have to sit on it. And obviously, and also one thing that really needs to be done is if you can't get a GP's appointment, because I hear this an awful lot, you use the 111 service, think 111, because actually GPs leave a percentage of their GP's appointments for the 111 service. So when you phone up and you can't get one, you absolutely need to see someone today, phone the 111 service, because if it's acute enough, they'll triage you, move you on, or they'll get you a GP's appointment.
Councillor Renshaw, as Chair of Cleaner and Greener and Safer Overview and Scrutiny Committee, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think actually Councillor Holloway as public areas and most of what we've discussed in there's a lot that can be done more. The air quality, I think, has been discussed, as she said so many times, that we need, but until we get that person in place, then we are not going to find out what we need to know, because, as you said, we hear rumours, we hear bits and pieces through Tilbury and everywhere else, so until we get that person in place, and I think that is going through now, isn't it? So interviews are happening now. I think it's been opened again to perhaps get a better person in place. So that's all I really wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. I definitely share your frustration, because obviously when I see my residents until we suffer from the dust issue and having it almost poo-pooed, for such a long time, and actually to be in a position now where we know we need to refresh the strategy, we know we need to have a full air quality review, including the ambient air, to actually be in this position now. Yes, it's taken far longer than I would have ever wanted, but of course we've been a bit delayed in the last 18 months, because air quality wouldn't have been the same during a pandemic as it is now. So now, actually, we've gone out, as you said, a few times with the air quality officer. These posts are difficult to get hold of, because they're quite, it's not, air quality isn't just about what's going on in Thurrock. Air quality doesn't know ward boundaries, it doesn't know borough boundaries, it's everywhere. So everybody's after these professionals. So it has been a very difficult recruitment process. But fingers crossed we can get that, and then we move forward.
Fingers crossed.
Councillor King, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I want to come back to the issue of access to GPs. As we've already heard, Thurrock is now the fourth worst area in the country for the number of residents per GP. There's 2,592 people for each GP we have in the borough. We regularly have residents telling us that waiting hours on the telephone, not even to get an appointment, just to try to get a call back from a GP or somebody at the practice. And in October's Health and Wellbeing Board, Dr. Anil Khalil, who chairs Thurrock CCG, said that he believes primary care is at breaking point. Madam Mayor, this is really quite a shocking situation that we find ourselves in. So I ask again, what does the portfolio holder, in partnership with health services and health colleagues, plan to do to urgently improve the situation?
Councillor Knights.
Thank you, Councillor, for that. It has been difficult, and in speaking to our colleagues within the CCG, and GPs, and also Dr. Khalil as well. They are finding it very difficult. They're under pressure like no other. The system's running incredibly hot. They're having to play catch up. This is not a normal situation. We know it wasn't absolutely fantastic beforehand. There's no getting around that. However, we have to have reliance in our partners. We've also got new governance that will come forward, which will allow us to support with that. But ultimately, we need to make that better environment for people and for GPs to want to come here. Plus, during the pandemic, they had for different ways of working. Actually, face-to-face is great. We want face-to-face, we want as much face-to-face as possible. But actually, some people have said they prefer a telephone appointment, they prefer a video appointment, because you don't have to take time to work or anything like that. So, as much as we want to see them face-to-face, if you need to see them, and that should always be there, flexibility within the practice might be very important, and that's in discussions with our colleagues.
Councillor Bowden, do you wish to speak?
Yes, please. Yeah, first of all, I'd like to join you lot in saying Councillor Adam Carter, Chair Cadwallader and Mayor, for absolutely no reason, just to get a not funny laugh. Anyway, the S106 money seems to be diverted to health, every single penny I've seen lately, and not going to its intended destination. Can you tell me why health's getting all the 106 money, please?
Okay, I'm pretty sure health isn't getting all of the same.
It is. Do you want to read the 106 report? There's about 6 on the list.
Yeah, I'd like to. That might go back to the room. So the reality is we are in a pandemic. We're still going through that. Obviously, we've had to do as much resources as possible. So I wouldn't have said that was bad. Obviously, we need to look at it. We use it, but rather than spend that on the pandemic and worse things.
No, when we're told it's going to a children's park, and then we at a planning meeting, and then we get, oh, it's not going anymore. It's going to an IMC in Corringham. This is just something wrong. It's all going to health, and the actual people intended destinations, they're not getting the money that. Sorry.
Thank you. Councillor Massey, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, thank you, Councillor Mays, for your report. I'm quite shocked to see the air quality spend for 2021 being only 28,000. I think for the size of the problem, it seems like a very small financial amount. And I know finances are not the greatest of a resource at the moment. But with that, I've got a suggestion and a question. Idling enforcement. So my ward, East Tilbury, we're landlocked by railway, so we have a lot of idling, which is a massive cause of air pollution. Could the money from these fines be ring-fenced towards air quality spend in the future? And off the back of that, to see how viable it is, how many £40 fixed penalty notices, roughly, and you can do it in writing if you haven't got it now, have we done in 2021?
Councillor Massey, would you like to Mays sum up, please?
Thank you, Councillor. Do you want to ask that question? That would be within my gift alone. That would be actually working within the cabinet, so actually it's worth looking at that.
Question from members. Do you want, Councillor Mays, would you like to sum up?
No, I think we've covered everything that question.
Oh, that's good.
Questions from members? No, Mayor has.
Yeah.
Now, 30 minutes time allocated.
Have I got any on this one?
Ask those members.
So I'm just going to be on all day.
We have up to 30 minutes for this item. There are 2 questions to the leader and 10 questions to cabinet members. These can be found on pages 743 to 744 on the agenda. Those questions not dealt with at this meeting, the member to whom the question is addressed shall provide an answer as soon as practical after the meeting. I would like to ask those members who have submitted questions to please read out their questions when asked to do so. Question 1 from Councillor King to Councillor Gledhill. Councillor King, would you please read out your question set out on page 743 of the agenda?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A recent judge-led tribunal says the public has a right to know the detail of how Thurrock Council borrowed and invested £1 billion of taxpayers' money. So why is the council spending even more public money trying to fight that decision?
Councillor Gledhill, please respond to the question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Kent, for your question. The decision to which you refer, it was a partial and interim decision dealing with only one aspect of the overall case. And at that time, the council had not been a direct party to the proceedings. The council has supported the approach to investment over a significant number of years with the unanimous support of the Chamber. The requested information is of such detail that to provide it would seriously prejudice the council's ability to operate in the commercial market, and this would therefore impact on the returns we can secure, which benefit the council and directly support services for residents. The council's approach was supported by the Independent Information Commissioner, and the tribunal recognised that the delicate balance which is needed to be considered when withholding information. On the aspect that the tribunal has looked at, it has reached a decision balancing specific commercial interest against formal public interest test. The tribunal itself recognises that there were significant other elements and issues in the case which they wanted to speak to the council's specific representations before issuing a final overall decision. The council is responding to that request and supporting the tribunal to be able to consider all the material elements in full. This process commenced on the request of the tribunal itself and undertaken in order to support the ongoing investment strategy that this council is pursuing. It will get the information submission from us. It's worth noting that the Independent Information Commissioner continues to support the council's representation at the tribunal and agrees that the information requested is appropriately withheld. Therefore, the council is right to support this approach and continue to support the tribunal in reaching its final decision. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor King, do you wish to propose a supplementary question?
Yeah. Madam Mayor, the reality is that there is now a culture of secrecy that surrounds the council, and it's getting worse. It's frankly quite appalling. Freedom of information requests are routinely refused, inquiries from the media go unanswered, members of the public refuse the right to put questions this evening. None of this is conducive to good governance and to good decision making. So will the leader agree to establish a cross-party review to improve the openness and transparency of Thurrock Council?
Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Kent. I mean, yeah, that's quite a wide-ranging answer from the original question about a freedom of information request. The council is within its rights, and indeed in the law, to refuse freedom of information requests on a number for a number of reasons. That could be the length of time it will take to respond, whether it's commercially confidential, whether it identifies an individual, and so on. It will probably have quite some time going through all of them. And equally, the ability for both members and indeed members of the public to ask questions, that's governed by the Constitution. There is a constitutional working group that will be kicking off very shortly, that I know the Deputy Mayor will be attending, and it will be for there to decide whether we change the ability for those questions to be asked and be put before the Council.
Councillor Kent, do you wish to propose a secondary? No? Thank you. Question 2 from Councillor Kent to Councillor Gledhill. Councillor Kent, please read out your question set out on page 743 of the agenda.
The Cabinet has agreed that 500 full-time equivalent posts will be cut over the next 2 years to save money. Given a number of these will be vacant posts, how many people currently employed by Thurrock Council does the leader estimate will lose their jobs as a result of this?
Councillor Gledhill, please respond to the question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Kent, for your question. The 500 full-time equivalent reduction statement is based on an estimate using the average council salary with on costs of £40,000. And assuming a £20 million reduction in costs against the general fund, that equates to the 500 quoted. Actual staff reductions will depend on a significant number of factors. So first of all, alternative funding sources found, maximising capital and other grant funding to pay for them rather than it being paid for from the general fund. Decisions about service delivery models and other efficiencies and opportunities for reducing costs. Of the 500 posts that potentially could be reduced over the next 2 years, we believe it's going to be over 200 full-time equivalents that will be achieved with vacant posts, which obviously you refer briefly in your question. Additionally, we can expect further natural staff turnover to increase the number of those vacancies. This potentially results in around somewhere between 250 to 300 full-time staff equivalents that could, and I say again, could see being cut. That is, of course, assuming that the savings, as I already said, are not identified from other sources, if they're not redeployed from other jobs, if, as I said before, if the costs are found through other income streams, and there will also be other employment opportunities that may arise as the borough evolves. Indeed, we heard from Councillor Maney earlier about the increase to the size of the CEOs. The impact of any reductions on services provided will be mitigated through the transformation and reform of the council as we create a modern organisation that can deliver the increasing, exciting agenda that, and improve the outcomes for the borough and its residents. Maximising our use of digital and technical solutions will be key to this and ensure that we maintain crucial services that protect the most vulnerable. As we know, Thurrock Council needs to evolve, and it will evolve. Unfortunately, that will mean a reduction in staff.
Councillor Kent, do you wish to propose a supplementary question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And these are incredibly sensitive issues, and I know from past experience that having to lose staff, having to make them redundant, is something that nobody here wants to do, and I don't kind of in any way diminish the toughness of the decision. It's also unfortunate that very often you can't always make the savings and make the job cuts in the areas that you would most like to be able to. So can the Leader of the Council tell us if he's made any assessment at all of which areas of the council are most vulnerable to job losses?
Thanks, Lady Law. Would you like to answer the question?
Thank you, Councillor Kent, for number one, your understanding of being in this position. Obviously, you were in a similar position a number of years ago, but also for the sensitivity towards those staff who may be losing their work and their employment with Thurrock Council. The assessments will go forward. We've already seen Councillor Jeffries, who's directly in front of me, submit a report where a number of the street cleaning operatives will be reduced, but we will be doing everything we can to maximise the services provided to residents. So can I point to one particular team or another particular team? No, I can't, and nor should I. But I can assure you it will be done as fairly as possible, and following emails from another leader, it will start from the top all the way down to the bottom. Thank you.
Councillor Kent, do you propose to make a second? No? Thank you. I will now move on to those questions received from members to portfolio holders. Question 1 from Councillor Holloway. Oh, she's not here. Councillor. I missed that one out then. Sorry. Yeah. Question 2 from Councillor Muldowney to Councillor Maney. Councillor Muldowney, please read out your questions set out on page 743 of the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Will the council consider traffic calming measures to combat speeding and dangerous driving on Heath Road, Chadwell, St Mary?
Councillor Maney, please respond to the question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Muldowney, for your question. As we've heard, Madam Mayor, Councillor Muldowney has asked whether the council will consider traffic calming measures in respect of Heath Road in Chadwell St Mary. And as I explained to Councillor Carter, I'm happy to say, in a roundabout way, the answer is yes. And the reason it's yes is because we always consider road safety across our entire road network. And where accident data or speed levels justify intervention, we will do. So Councillor Maldoni can rest assured that if and when, and I hope it doesn't come to this, if and when accident levels on Heath Road reach a point where we require to intervene, we will. But at present, Madam Mayor, there have been only 3 personal injury accidents in Heath Road over the last 5 years, and this is police data, it's not the council's data. And that means that Heath Road currently ranks 71st out of 162 roads on our priority list. So the residents of Heath Road can actually rest assured they live in a very safe road, as the statistics bear out. So at the moment there are no plans for any engineering works, but should that change, the council will of course respond accordingly.
Councillor Maldoni, do you wish to propose a supplementary question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, residents are very concerned about the lower stretch of Heath Road, where the road bends to form a right angle at the junction to Orset Heath Crescent. There have been 2 recent incidents of cars leaving the road and ploughing into bungalows at this point. It was a miracle that nobody died. Last week was Road Safety Week, and we learned that more people are killed or seriously injured on our roads in Essex because of road incidents compared to any other type of crime. So this is a serious issue which local residents are right to be concerned about. Can I ask the portfolio holder if he's not prepared to consider traffic calming at this point? Will he at least commit to gathering live traffic data to establish the scale of this issue before there's another serious accident?
Mr. Mainley?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I might need another microphone because I think I actually said in my answer that we interrogate police data as a matter of routine. So we know what the data tells us. There have been 3 personal injury accidents in Heath Road over the last 5 years. There's not really much more I can say to that. We do measure speed, we do measure accidents, as I've just said. So we wouldn't have a priority list if we didn't have that information to hand already. We don't pick them out of a hat. So I can only repeat, the data is there. We use it to judge which roads we prioritise. And at the moment, in the grand scheme of things, Heath Road is a very safe road and residents should take comfort from that. But at the same time, we will continue to monitor the situation, and if road safety deteriorates or speed levels deteriorate, then we will look at that. I'm sure Councillor Maldoni would not want us to prioritise Heath Road over another road where accident data is a lot higher and people are subject to danger when using that road. I know she would want us to take money away from more dangerous hotspots, pushing Heath Road, and thereby put our residents at increased risk. Thank you.
Councillor Maldoni, do you wish to propose a second supplementary question? No? Thank you. Question 3 from Councillor Kent to Councillor Coxhill. Councillor Kent, please read out your questions set out on page 743 of the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'll just add before I read the question was actually submitted in June. Will the portfolio holder set out the plan and target dates for reopening each element of the Thameside complex?
Councillor Coxhill, please respond to the question.
Yes, the Thameside Theatre, as this question was told, been some time for me to answer. It's been superseded, but it's here. So the Thameside Theatre is open. Access to the staff and the council, and approaching line with the council's approach to public buildings. I've just realised the library is open, a registry office is operating for some time. The Thameside Theatre opened on the 7th of September. The Thurrock Museum reopened on the 14th of September.
Councillor Kent, do you wish to propose a supplementary question?
Yeah. Clearly things have moved on and most elements have reopened, though I understand the need for caution with regard to COVID. But can I ask when, for instance, the theatre will be able to open with full capacity when most theatres across the country are already operating at full capacity? So when will the Thameside move to that position? And when does he envisage the library being fully open and fully accessible rather than the system that's in place at the moment?
Yes, I understand that the air conditioning wasn't able to be sufficient for air quality reasons at that time. But I understand as of now, today, that is been corrected by there's temporary air conditioning systems in there. So as of now, I'm being told that it can actually open at capacity due to the air conditioning.
Councillor Kent, do you propose a second supplementary question?
Madam Mayor, that's really good news and really good to hear. Can I ask the portfolio holder then to undertake to ensure that the council website is updated to release further tickets and further capacity for shows immediately, and especially for the pantomime? It would be a shame if that went ahead at three-quarter capacity if that's not now necessary.
Yeah, I will, that's it's obviously not my department, the service industry, it's the actual building and assets, but I understand the question. I think thank you for raising that, because if that's not been done yet, and templates do take a bit of time to go through the council to actually do that, but it actually is like happened recently, so that will certainly happen.
Thank you. Question 4 from Councillor Kent to Councillor Jeffries. Councillor Kent, please read out your questions out on page 743 of the agenda.
For the past 2 years, Thurrock Council has, on one Saturday a month, provided a caged truck to support the Orchards Forum as they work to keep alleyways in the area as free as possible from fly tipping and other litter. Unfortunately, that support has now been withdrawn and the rubbish pulled from alleyways is left to be collected in the week. Will the portfolio holder reinstate the Saturday support?
Councillor Jeffries, please respond to the question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kent, for your question. I feel there needs to be some clarification here. This support has never been withdrawn from the Orchards Forum. In fact, what happened was the council spoke to the forum and asked if it would be possible to collect their rubbish during the weekday. This would help the service operationally. It was agreed that that would happen. If, however, they wish the rubbish that they collect to be collected on a Saturday, then as with all community groups, the council is happy to support, and all they need to do is contact waste.streetservices@thurrock.gov.uk with the dates and the times, and the arrangements can be made.
Councillor Kent, do you wish to propose a supplementary question?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pleased to hear that, though I do have to say that the forum have been in touch with the council on a number of occasions to ask for the Saturday support to be reinstated, and at every turn have been turned down. But I will take that back. The issue is that in the 30 sessions that they've held, they've cleared at least 40 tonnes of rubbish. With the support of the cage truck on the day, they're able to move from alleyway to alleyway and clear 5 or 6 in one go. Having to leave the accumulated rubbish on a pavement means that they can only realistically clear 1 or 2, so they don't keep on top of it as they would wish. But I am grateful for the initial response, and I will suggest that they do as you set out and copy you into it. So if there is a problem, you'll be able to resolve it.
Councillor Jeffries.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't think there was actually a question there, but yes, more than happy to receive the email and make sure that the rubbish is collected.
Councillor Kent, do you propose? Thank you. Question 5 from Councillor Worrell to Councillor Hoolin. Councillor Worrell, please read out your question set out on page 744 of the agenda.
Following her very public offer to meet the group based at the Thameside building, can the portfolio holder please update the chamber on what meaningful meetings she has had with the groups and what were the outcomes of those meetings?
Councillor Hoolin, please respond to the question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor, for your question. Can you hear me? Sorry. Working with officers, I've put in place an extensive engagement programme that is currently ongoing and will continue over the next few months as we develop new cultural strategy for Thurrock. Anyone who has written to the Council about this issue has received a response either directly from myself or officers on my behalf, and there's been continued engagement to keep those interested up to date. Myself, Councillor Coxall and officers have shared information with local groups and regional stakeholders on the current status of the Thameside complex, listened and gained greater understanding of the needs of those involved to better informed decision making, outlined our plans for developing a new cultural strategy, updated on the reopening of the theatre and museum, and discussed how we will continue to engage over the coming months. Amongst other meetings with individuals and groups, we also attended the roundtable meeting organised by the Council with local cultural practitioners from across the sector, and more meetings are being planned. At the roundtable meeting, I reaffirmed my commitment to working collaboratively with individuals and groups on opportunities to improve arts, culture and heritage for Thurrock residents, and the development of ideas and actions to inform the new cultural strategy.
Councillor Worrell, do you wish to propose a supplementary question?
I do, thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just not quite prepared that you've done all of that stuff, and I know that many residents have been emailing and they've not received a response from you or officers, which kind of upset me. But I want to talk about those roundtable meetings. So you had your first roundtable meeting on the 22nd of September with the Heritage Library and Arts groups, and it was agreed that a series of meetings will be held with the aim of finding a workable solution to the proposed closure of the Thameside Theatre. Unfortunately, I understand that due to the sad death of Sir David Amos, the second meeting was cancelled and is now due to take place on the 30th of November. But last week at the Corporate Overview and Scrutiny Committee, the Head of Finance informed the committee that the decision on the future of the Thameside Committee is tabled for a decision by Cabinet on the 8th of December. If that timetable is followed, there really is no time for these meaningful meetings to take place, as the Cabinet report, including the decision, will be printed in the same week that the meeting is scheduled to take place. Can you assure all those groups that you've been speaking to and those groups that you met at the round table that you will delay any Cabinet decision on the closure of Thameside until all of those meetings have taken place?
Thanks, Haley.
Short answer to that one. Thank you for the question. Yes. It's not appropriate to do now. Yes, so yes.
Councillor Worrell, do you wish to propose a second supplementary question?
I certainly do. Thank you for that, because I'm sure that will assure people here that we can plan for the Thameside in the future, maybe.
We totally agree. It was wrong, and that's already been decided.
It's been decided and it's off the table. Thank you very much for that. But there is still this ongoing. It's always going to be a budget problem. We know that there's going to be a budget problem. And over recent weeks, I've been following all of the stuff around different theatres and seeing across the country so many theatres receiving substantial amounts, millions of money for refurbishment and for running costs. And how are they getting that? It's really difficult for council to bid for that money and get it. But the ones that are getting it are the ones that are in community ownership. And it's about that asset transfer. They can get much more money than we as a council can get. You don't have to tell a council council, she's picking up on her own. So if we are going to get a new theatre, that's amazing, because that's what we were promised, that the theatre wouldn't shut until we got one. But what I don't want to do is in next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, that we're here fighting again. I actually think Thameside Theatre belongs in the hands of the community, and we do need to do that asset transfer. They will run it much better than us, so do you agree that that is a good place for our theatre to sit?
Thanks, Haley.
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we both actually, it's what we were agreeing and saying, is that we have said we would like community to come forward with an interest in it. So, community can take things forward. Obviously, it needs to be as viable as any other option there, but if it's viable, we're willing to talk about it. We've always said we would do that.
Yeah, it needs some support from this council, and I'm sure they'll make it much better.
And just like you, we don't want to be in a position in 5 years where we haven't got a theatre service.
Thank you. Right. Question 6 from Councillor Worrell to Councillor Mainley. Councillor Worrell, has received a written response to her question. Question 7 from Councillor Renshaw to Councillor Coxhill. Councillor Renshaw, please read out your question as set out on page 744 of the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks, Madam Mayor. Would the portfolio confirm that there are still no plans to relocate the Gammonfield Travellers site to Long Lane as part of Highways England Lower Thames Crossing project?
Councillor Coxhill, please respond to the question. Sorry.
I can confirm there are no plans to relocate the site much further west as originally designed by Highways England, or now called National Highways. In fact, I'd like to thank yourself and Councillor Maney for the hard work they put in with National Highways, then Highways England, and without that, I believe they would never have got this result that is actually a substantial improvement to your ward. And I would thank them too for the meetings they continually had and making Highways England, which are always a very difficult organisation, see sense and move.
Councillor Renshaw, do you wish to propose a supplementary question?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Right. Question 8 from Councillor Polly to Councillor Jeffries. Councillor Polly has received a written response to her question. Question 9 from Councillor Kerring to Councillor Jeffries. Councillor Kerring, please read out your question set out on page 744 of the agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Does the portfolio holder support the call of the Greys Riverside Councillors for Parker Road Recreation Park to be given official green space designation?
Councillor Drissis, please respond to the question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Very long meeting, so I'll keep it short. Yes.
Thank you. Because I like the response, I'm going to keep it short. Thank you.
Right. Question 10 from Councillor Fletcher to Councillor Coxhill. Councillor Fletcher has received a written response to his question. Reports from members representing the council on outside bodies. Does any member who represents council outside bodies wish to present a report? No. Minutes of the committees. These are listed on the agenda's contents page. Motions, update reports. The next item can be found on page 745 to 746 of the agenda and is an update on ongoing motions of the council. Motion 1. Councillor Kent, do you wish to propose and speak to your motion as printed out on page 747 of the agenda?
I do, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, the Thameside complex, which comprises theatre, library, museum, was completed in 1971. On October the 18th saw the first ever play performed on the stage there. The play was The Love of Four Colonels. I just glanced around to see who was in the gallery, and I see that in the gallery is Vic Gray. I understand that 50 years ago, Vic was on the stage in that play. He must have been playing what I think in theatrical circles is called a juvenile lead. Tickets were priced at 50 pence and 40 pence during the week, and 60 pence and 50 pence on the Saturday. Other performances in the first month included the Royal Ballet School, the Roy Budd Jazz Trio, the Philharmonica of London, and the film The Great White Hope, the life story of heavyweight Jack Johnson, was shown. That Christmas, the first pantomime at the Thameside was staged, and it was Pinocchio. The building was officially opened by Lord Goodman, the then chair of the Arts Council of Great Britain, on the 22nd of January 1972. The Thameside had been built in two phases, the rear tower block first, and then the front with the foyer, the museum, the theatre. It was built that way so that the existing library could move from the old Carnegie Free Library building on Orsett Road into the new building without any break in service. Madam Mayor, in creating a hub for the arts, culture and heritage, Our predecessors showed huge imagination and foresight. They knew that the arts, culture and heritage play a vital role in bringing people together, that they enrich our communities, they bring us new experiences and ideas, as well as making a massive contribution to our economy, both locally and nationally. And for the past 50 years, the Thameside has provided Thurrock with a wonderful little theatre that has welcomed over 2 million visitors to an incredible range of shows. Fantastic local groups like Tops or Cedarn, Thurrock Courts Players, and I'll stop there, the list will go on and on. A huge range of dance and drama schools. We've welcomed established stars and given the first taste of acting, performing on a professional stage, to people who are now household names, people like Phil Davis or Russell Brand. And although the theatre was a new innovation, there had been a museum in Grays since the early 1900s. Before the Thameside complex, a local history museum was part of that Carnegie Free Library. The museum gallery displays around 1,500 items, but there are 2 entire floors within the complex that house other artefacts that there just isn't space to display. And the central library, and that's what it is, it's Thurrock's central library, it's not a branch library, and incidentally, Madam Mayor, that's one of the reasons that the building is built as solidly as it is, so that it can safely house the huge number of books that are needed to fulfil that function. The library continues to be really well used, not only by those who want to borrow a book, but by those who want to make use of the 20-odd computers, by youngsters who are studying, doing homework, sometimes in a busy house, the only place where they can actually get some peace and quiet to study, as well as playing host to a range of community groups and activities. The 50 years of these services being provided from one fantastic building is, I believe, well worth celebrating. And I really wish that we could look forward with real confidence to the next 50 years, but we can't. Cabinet is proposing to close the Thameside complex in order to save the £600,000 they claim it costs to run the building each year. Madam Mayor, I have to be clear. Closing the Thameside without a new building in place is entirely unacceptable to me and to the Labour group. The library, with its purpose-built children's library, deserves to be located in a building designed for the purpose. We have no idea what a library squeezed into one of the buildings opposite would be capable of providing, but it's highly unlikely it would include a purpose-built children's library. I have heard no firm proposals for relocating the museum, or for how those thousands of artefacts that aren't on display would be catalogued or securely stored. And then we have the theatre. Madam Mayor, the Thameside Theatre is a professional theatre. It has a large stage, it has wings, it has dressing rooms, it has 300 plus seats, it has a proper sound system, a proper lighting system. There is nowhere else in Thurrock that can offer all of that. And without it, we won't attract any professional events here. We won't be able to offer local groups the opportunity to perform in a proper theatre, and won't be able to give residents the chance they deserve of an evening at the theatre without leaving the borough. Madam Mayor, the Thameside is much more than a sum of its parts. It forms the cultural heart of Thurrock and provides the capacity and cultural energy that drives the arts, culture, heritage for the whole of the borough. It would be monstrous to lose all of that without a fight. So in July, I asked Cabinet to leave no stone unturned in looking at ways of keeping the Thameside open. For example, by working with local arts or other community organisations. The leader told us that conversations were ongoing with a number of external partners, as well as with members of the production corridor as part of the wider arts agenda across the South East. He said that that work would continue with partners to reform the service and make the Thameside a centre that works for 2021 and into the future. Madam Mayor, it's now time to deliver on that and come up with the resources needed to keep the Thameside complex open and thriving long into the future.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Is that seconded? Yeah. Would you like to speak now or reserve your right to speak until later in the debate? I've received an amendment to this motion from Councillor Snell and was emailed to members. Is this amendment seconded? Yeah. Councillor Snell, you have 3 minutes to speak on your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I echo a lot of what Councillor Kent said. The Thameside has been a terrific facility for Thurrock down the years. I'm pretty sure that there's not anybody that's been brought up in Thurrock that hasn't been to see something or the other at Thameside, be it a show, be it a film, or visit the theatre, the museum. It's been terrific, and I think it is right that we do something to celebrate the service that it has given the borough over 50 pretty glorious years. However, moving into the future, I mean, we're more interested in securing the services. I mean, it's not about the building anymore. The building has, let's be frank, seen its day. It's time to move forward. It's time to create better facilities. It's time to create better scenarios where everybody gets a much better use out of what we can provide as Thurrock as a borough. And I don't think that's any longer served by being in the Thameside Theatre. That's not to say the Thameside Theatre doesn't have a future. I mean, maybe it does, and as was mentioned earlier, it's maybe a local company or local group will come in with an idea or a proposition to take it on. Who knows? But I think it's only right that we concentrate really on the services that use the theatre. So when we're talking about raising funds or securing funds moving forward into the future, let's not concentrate on the building, let's concentrate on the people and the services that use the complex and how we can see them into the future rather than concentrate on an old and frankly run down building. Thank you.
Is this amendment seconded? All right, okay. Would you like to speak now or reserve your right to speak until later in the debate? Councillor Cox.
Is that working? Thank you, Madam Mayor. Modern services require modern delivery. This complex is nearly twice as old as many at this stage. And we should celebrate their history, but we should look at the whole history, the good and the bad, and not just cherry pick for what is newsworthy.
You hold the mic in your mouth.
Sorry. And we shouldn't just cherry pick for when making sure it's newsworthy. This building is far past its prime, and it should be looked at as such. Thank you.
Does any other member wish to comment on the amended? Okay, but Sir Muldowney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to speak for Councillor Kent's original motion and against the proposed amendment. I, like others, have been puzzled by the claim by the portfolio holder that we can improve theatre services by closing our only theatre and providing a theatre offer at unspecified locations. I do not understand how a theatre offer without a building can be provided or indeed improved. And I think it shows a distinct lack of understanding about what it takes to put on a theatre production. I'm yet to be convinced that any of the services currently housed in the Thameside can be improved by moving them to other inadequate venues from a professionally equipped theatre. The Thameside, we've heard from Councillor Kent, is much more than a sum of its services that run out of it. It's a social hub, an arts hub, a place where all sections of the community can meet and share common interests. From school children using the purpose-built library, to people popping into the cafe to meet friends and have a tea or coffee, to the wonderful theatre and concert performances at night, which go towards boosting the nighttime economy. The Thames side acts as a hub for creativity and connection that we desperately need in these COVID times. Only at the Thames side will our children be given the opportunity to perform on a real professional stage, to build their confidence and develop their talent. Closing and selling off the Thames side will rob our young people of this opportunity. Speaking to Chadwell residents at the demonstration outside, who told me that 3 generations of their family have performed at the Thames Side Theatre over the years, it's clear that this loss will reverberate through every generation in our community. Also, we will lose the ability for professional shows to perform in Thurrock, as they will not be able to be accommodated in a non-professional venue. To pretend that the council can deliver improved services without a theatre is just nonsense. I urge councillors to vote for the original motion as tabled by Councillor Kent and against the amendment. Thank you.
Councillor Worrell.
Shut it down and chuck them all in the village halls, which is not just going to work. So I understand like this.
The microphone really ain't working. Low down pubs, don't you?
So, Madam Mayor, Thurrock has an outstanding history of celebrating achievements and milestones here in Thurrock. Many of us in the chamber will attend education awards, community awards, and with our schools and our volunteers in the community. This summer again we celebrated our place in history with the Windrush bringing new settlers to build the docks to make their homes. Thameside Theatre is a piece of our history, and many residents will have stories to tell you about its love and well-used community building. For some it will be their love of the history and visiting the museum displays. For others it will be their love of books and losing hours as they browse the library before taking their chosen books away. But for me, mine was the love of the theatre. As a child I remember getting dropped off with my brother every Saturday morning to attend the Saturday morning club, while my mum and dad went across to Grange and did their shopping in Congress House and Marks and Spencer's. Every December all the local companies would pay for their employees' children to attend the pantomime at the theatre. As a child, you knew Christmas was not far away when you walked through the doors of Thameside Theatre. To this day, I still attend performances and the pantomime at our great little theatre. I really enjoyed the sellout adult panto that some killjoy blocked that from happening a few years ago. So now I have to go to the theatre in Basildon to watch it. I don't want to go to Basildon, I want to visit the theatre here in Thurrock. I don't want to go to I don't want to go to somewhere like High House that's not made for it. No, I want to go to the theatre. Not necessarily that theatre, build us a new theatre, which is what Councillor Snell recommended in his report when he led on the task and finished. Reflecting on my time as cabinet member for the communities and the arts, I could often be found in the theatre audience watching one of the local productions by a local theatre group, or being entertained by those young performers of the dance school. Let's not forget that our local theatre groups have won many an acting award, and we have more than a handful of celebrities that have found their love for performing or singing on stage at Thameside Theatre. Madam Mayor, I am going to be supporting Councillor Kent's motion tonight, and I hope that because of a couple of word plagiarisms around Councillor Kent's actual first motion, that the rest of this chamber, which is not the chamber tonight, but the chamber, the councillors, can see fit that, you know, we're not going to give up fighting for Thameside Theatre. Russell Brand joined us today.
Councillor Cathy Kent. Councillor Kent, Cathy Kent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. I don't normally stand up and speak at council meetings unless it's a really, really important issue. The Thameside is. The Thameside is the heart of Grays. It's where Grays' heartbeat is. There are loads and loads of people grown up going to the Thameside for the library and for all the services we've heard. We have a lovely group in there of youngsters who are learning about how to put on a show, the lighting, the sounds, the scenery. You cannot do that in a village hall. We need the Thameside. We need the services in there. We need them to continue. So we need to think outside the box and make sure that stays open for now and for our future generation. Madam Mayor, please, will you try, if you can, to ensure that this theatre stays open for our future and for all our children's future. Thank you.
Councillor Hooning.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What we need is a modern, viable theatre service. Basildon can seat about 550, take 775 standing or 280 dining, plus extra space for private events, none of which we can do in our theatre. Thurrock Court players, the Save Our Theatre group, admit that they are restricted to paying extra for bespoke scenery because at 10 foot the ceiling height is nearly 4 foot lower than a standard theatre, so they can't buy normal scenery. We can't increase the size or the height. We can't make it more accessible. It restricts our arts offer, and the Thurrock community deserves better. Part 1 of this motion suggests celebrating the golden anniversary of the complex, but I say we should be celebrating the arts, culture and the people involved for the past 50 years, not the building. We should celebrate the 50 years of hard work and dedication of performers, artists, volunteers. Let's celebrate the people involved, the Thurrock community that have educated and informed us. Let's celebrate those that have spread joy, laughter and sometimes tears. It's the heart of the building we should celebrate, not the bricks. It will be great to be celebrating the past, but let's not be chained by its limitations. This administration recognises that we need a theatre service. We've said that already. Our Thurrock community deserves better. That's why it's easy to agree Councillor Snell's amendment to part 2 of this motion. We have already improved and built a more sustainable registrar. We've made a future for the library and we're working and will continue to work to improve the arts and culture offer. We're already committed to improving the services of the complex.
Thank you. Councillor Kerrin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With regards to this motion, obviously lots of people are speaking about it. I'm going to focus on the library aspect for the moment because in these times, a library is a place that can be accessed without regard to people's incomes. You don't need money in your pocket to be able to walk into a library. And it's one of the few assets we have on the street which is accessible to people regardless of their income. And the Grays Central Library is at the heart of libraries and is at the heart of the Thurrock Library Service. It democratises knowledge, it provides opportunities for the next generation to learn and to grow and to be nourished intellectually, and reducing this library to some shelves in the building opposite would be nothing short of cultural vandalism. The library deserves to be housed in a building worthy of its status as the jewel of the Thurrock Library Service. We must save the library, we must save the museum, and we must save the theatre. And it's not just about service, because buildings are really important when it comes to theatres. We only have to think of the jewel of the main national theatre in this country. We need to look at places like the Globe. Places do matter. It's not as simple as just saying it's a service and we can house it anywhere. For a theatre to work, it needs a viable, purpose-built building. So let's stop talking about just services, because we know that at the heart of this lies the idea of just going off to village halls and hoping for the best that way. Let's respect our culture and let's save the Thameside.
Thank you. Councillor Spillman, wish to speak.
Thank you very much. I actually like my plays to be quite like Labour, actually, a comedy farce. And that's what we see again tonight. It really is regressive. It's any old bandwagon you can sort of attach yourself to, as always. And that's what we're getting. And that's why, because you've got no new ideas, yeah, that's why no one's voting for you. You know, I mean, that's where we are. So, I mean, I've spoken about arts and in depth with stakeholders, and when I sat with them, they all agreed that the current offering from the Thames side wasn't good enough. Yeah, the way it was structured wasn't going to deliver what we wanted. I've met with them. I've spoken to them. Vic, I sat in meeting after meeting with you and other people. Yeah. Oh, come on, Vic. Yeah, we sat there. I was on Thurrock Arts. I gathered everyone together from the arts in the local area and the stakeholders to talk about progress.
Yeah.
So
you're supposed to be talking to me, actually.
So, apologies. So, I mean, what we need, we need to completely either redesign the offering in the actual building that it's in at the moment, or produce a new building. Now, personally, I think the people to run that, and it's a position that I've held the whole time, is the arts themselves. So rather than waving placards, what I want to see them do is wave business plans. Yeah? You know, that's what I want. I want you to come with a...
Doing it again.
Well,
Order. Councillor Spillman, you're supposed to be talking to me.
But what we need to do is to see an offering that can generate funds, that delivers the arts that people in Thurrock actually want to consume. You know, that building should have a club in it. It should have a music venue in it. It should have a theatre in it as well. But stuff that's generating money, that's self-sufficient. And the artists actually agree with that. You know, that's exactly what we do need. So what I want to do is, and this whole debate has become political because it's Labour's bandwagon as always. But what we need to do is have a conversation about how we can make it easy for you to deliver a self-financing cultural hub in Thurrock. That's the grown-up conversation, and that's the conversation that I and the Conservatives want to have. The conversation Labour want to have is how can we scare enough people to try and get a few votes? And it's the same conversation they always want to have.
Councillor Byrne, would you like to speak?
Yes. I mean, I think it's Councillor Snell that said it's an old and run-down building. If it is an old and run-down building, it's our old and run-down building, isn't it? So that is a statement not only be said by somebody with no understanding of the arts, love of the arts, or any interest in the arts. Them kids outside, last time, that you're scared off this time because all the police are coming, you ask them, what do they breathe? Just nod your head. What's the matter with you, man? You ask them kids what they breathe, they say confidence. They're trained from that age to actually support and love something that is in everybody's heart. You've got no interest, no love, so you just can't understand.
Councillor Piccolo, would you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've just been going back over some figures for the Thames side, and remember it's called the Thames Side Theatre. From 2005 to 2008, there were 172 performances, that's theatrical performances that you would expect to go and see in the theatre. From 2009 to 2019, there was a total of 45 over the 10 years. Last year, there was 3 theatrical performances, something that you go to a theatre to see. Everything else can be supplied at another venue. A theatre is where you go and see plays or musical acts or shows. And I don't think we need to spend all that money to actually, in 2019 there was 3 shows, in 2018 there was 2, and 2017 was 3. I won't go any further. But it's not being used as a theatre. And that's my point. It could be something better elsewhere, where in actual fact we could attract the big crowds and the big acts that we used to do back in the early 20s. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Renshaw.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The name is Redsaw, actually. Not Renshaw,
Right.
sorry. You've all got very good passion here to want to have a Thameside theatre, and I agree with that. I've probably been around a bit longer than most of you and have supported the theatre for quite a while. And I think most of the mayors have also supported the theatre. I think you've all got the passion, but we're not looking forward. We're looking backwards all the time to what might have been or what could have been. And the theatre, the things I get back from people is the theatre is uncomfortable. It's not, you can't go and have a drink because it's too full up in there. It's not big enough. So we do need something a bit more positive. You said, Councillor Byrne, I'll pick you up on that. We do understand what goes on in there because I've done a lot to support the Thameside Theatre. So I do pick you up on that because it's not true what you're saying. We've got to be more positive in looking after things that we've got, yes, and we need a new theatre. And surely that is better than putting up with one that isn't. If you've got to find somebody to support it, you don't think you're going to find that person. We have to build something new so we can carry on doing the shows that we have done in the past. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Anyone that knows me will be well aware I am an absolute lover of musicals, not so much on theatre. I know that might be slander to some people, but on a quiet month, I'm at 2 musicals. On a busy, hey, let's just look at last weekend. I was at 4 musicals in the West End in London. If the shows are available, I will go, but unfortunately, when it comes to top performing, touring performances outside of London, I'm having to travel to Dartford, to Southend, to Southampton, because they don't come to Thurrock, because we don't have facilities available for them to perform. And that's a real shame that it is perfectly capable within this distance to get those acts. Look to the other side of London, you've got Wimbledon Theatre that thrives. So you can certainly do it with the geographical closeness to the West End, but we need to have a theatre that's capable of attracting that talent. And I agree with Councillor Worrell's point that the best people to do this and the best funding and other options isn't done by a council. A council has an important role, but the arts is a different skill set and different focuses. And we need that option there and delivered. So I think it's really important, if we want to offer the full support to the young people in the borough, we have facilities that can attract the top talent to the borough. Because at the moment with the Thameside, if you want to see top musical performances, you have to get on a train to London, you have to go to Dartford, you have to go to Southend, and if that's what we think, then we're letting young people down. So I want to see the best acts coming to Thurrock, because I don't want to go and travel. Yes, you'll still travel to the West End, but we need that. If you want to look at where these top touring productions happen, you can go onto the website. You are not seeing the top talent come to Great. And that's a real shame, and I think we need to have a theatre that's attracting that top talent and getting that here to Thurrock. And we have the capability and the drive to do it. Let's get the business plan and let's get an organisation which isn't the council to run that, because personally, I think they'll do a better job.
Councillor Manley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Now, it's a little known fact, Madam Mayor, that when I was at school, I was part of a production that won not 1 but 2 talent competitions for acting. So I have to take issue with what Councillor Byrne said, us on this side not having an affection for the arts. We certainly do. The reason I'm compelled to support Councillor Snell's amended motion is because I had hoped that when Councillor Kent moved his motion, or members of the opposition spoke in support of it, we'd hear something from them, a plan, something to go with, a kernel of a plan for finding that, frankly, eye-watering amount of money that we need to bring the building up to standard. And we haven't heard any of that. it is far too simplistic to bring a motion to a council and say to Cabinet, go away and find the money. How? Where? Well, you haven't given us the slightest thing to go on. And, Madam Mayor, if love and sentiment were enough to keep things alive, the Lord knows my sainted grandmother would still be here. She ain't. And we have to face facts. The building is poorly designed. It's energy inefficient. I was a portfolio holder for Heritage and Culture from 2004, and we were pouring money into the Thameside then in an effort to keep it up to standard. And here we are, all these years later, having the same old debate. This time, though, it's £16 million we're expected to find. And my challenge really, I mean, Cabinet have been clear, nothing is off the table. We'll look at all options. But if people are going to make a reasoned case for keeping the Thameside, give us something to go on. What is your plan for finding this money? Because the status quo isn't acceptable. It's a decaying building. We can't just keep it in its current form. And frankly, there needs to be a radical plan to find that money. We want to keep it open, and we haven't heard any of that tonight. Any suggestion for that? I'm pleased that Russell Brand has thrown his weight behind the campaign. He's not short of a few bob. We'll look forward to his check in the post. So, there's a start, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Councillor Coxon.
Thank you. Yeah, I come here 15 years ago, moved here 15 years ago, and it was appalling to look at it. And a senior councillor would sit here, and he said, I said, what's Thurrock about? And it's a great place, and I've really enjoyed it, and I've missed it with moving here from Canterbury. And it looked at it, and I think, well, why hasn't it's got a theatre on the third floor that's not you can't go to? It's uncomfortable. You can't do it. You've got a swimming pool that does not Olympic size, so we can't encourage anyone to actually do a good, great athletes. They think, well, it's Thurrock, innit? And he shrugs his shoulders, and I got told, and that's what we just have to put up with. When I took this portfolio in 16, we can't carry on with that Thurrock shrug. We can't stop that. What we want is good theatre a fantastic theatre operation. We need something like that. Now, I understand my colleagues are wanting something like West End. We can't get that. I'm not going to promise that. But what we can do is do something better. Now, that doesn't mean to say that it's not in the Thameside. What it says is, I personally think we need a theatre that works. Now, someone could come up with a great idea there. I am open to it about what we can do with that asset. Likewise, I'm open to where can we put something better? Where can we have something better? Where can we make sure we have community and we can deliver them to have great acts? I want to see top quality acts in Thurrock. I want to see a top quality swimming pool that we can get Olympic type athletes. I look at Basildon with envy. And that what we want is a play agenda. That won't live and play is really important to me, because that play bit of it comes underneath that, is about culture, is about is about sport, leisure, enjoyment, fun. And we look at what the Prime Minister's done now with £20 million into Grays. We've got some money into that. We've got to do that, but we can find some more with actually an innovative way of working, and we can actually look at with envy. We don't have to go to Basildon. We don't have to go to Southend. Look with envy at what we can do here. Stop thinking about accepting something. 55 years ago, I was talking to the heritage officer, who then we took down a fantastic library. We had a Victorian library. And I'm sure 55 years ago, when that was removed by a Labour council and destroyed a Victorian free library, to build that machine now. Now, I like the building. I think it's a great looking building, but the machine of it doesn't work. We just had an answer on today that we can't, it was 3 quarters, we need the wrong air conditioning units. So immediately we've got to tap temporary air conditioning in there so we can actually get people to sit in the building. We can't carry on. If I leave this job and move somewhere else, what do? We left another 10, 15 years with the building is decaying, because it won't get it from the council ongoing money. I think the suggestion from Councillor Worrell, the community, and I'm really pleased, I want to see a community business plan. I really want to look at. Ideas are open. I don't want to make a decision in Cabinet. I can't make a decision in Cabinet until I speak to everyone, and that's the promise I made, and I'm sticking to that.
Councillor Little.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Being that much older probably than everyone else, I remember the Thurrock of when they started building the new Thameside complex or Thameside building. Everyone was up petitioning, they didn't want it. And now they're absolutely in love with it. But I'm looking at it as, even a few years ago, when I wanted to go see, at the time, you'll laugh at this, Nana Muscuri, you couldn't get them in Thameside Theatre. I had to go to Southend because within Grays it wasn't big enough to attract the big acts. Now, I think we shouldn't keep accepting third-rate buildings. We've got to get rid of this idea that it's the buildings that matter. It's the community, it's the theatre, it's the library. I agree with Councillor, which I don't do that often, I agree with Councillor Cockshow, I'm sorry I shouldn't have said that, but I do agree with him that it'd be great to have the community actually lead on this, and the theatre community. You know, sometimes we may all think we're living in a pantomime, but to be honest, the council aren't the right people to run a theatre. It should be those that actually get involved with the community to do it. But I feel that, you know, we have Southend, we have Hornchurch. I don't want to go travelling at my age out to those, but I would like to go to a nice bar and a nice theatre. And I think we have all this beautiful riverside, and we should be looking for a first-class building to house all these things, not looking backwards all the time. And we have to remember, we've got all these free ports, we've got all these people moving to Thurrock. Thurrock is getting noticed. It is, you know, everyone's eyes are on Thurrock, and we've got so many new residents moving in here. You know, they'd never be able to go to the theatre because it would just be overpacked. And I do think we should celebrate what the arts have done so far. I agree with Councillor Kent. But I'm not going to celebrate a building. It's ghastly from my point of view. And we really should stop having third-rate thoughts for Thurrock. Why should we have a little theatre down there, mouldy, that's uncomfortable, you can't breathe in, you can't sit and have a look out at the sea or the river or whatever, you can't do anything. So, and I have to go up God knows how many stairs if the lift's broken. So, you know, I think let's look forward, celebrate what we've had, and let's get together and look at a new building that's purpose-built and make Thurrock great.
Councillor Bass.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On one hand, you want to celebrate golden anniversary of the complex. On the other hand, you want to close this building and build a new theatre. So where are you going to build this new theatre? So what exactly are your plans? Thameside is not just a building. It is a unique hub of educational, artistic and cultural facilities. So we need to save and protect this facility. Therefore, I support Councillor Kent's motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fletcher.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This thing any use? Can it be heard? Right. Something I've noticed over the last however long we've been debating this is the passion in the room. And it's shared. It isn't just one side of the room or the other side. There is a shared passion for supporting the arts, for having something, as my colleagues on the other side of the floor have said, bigger, better, something we can really be proud of. So, forgive me, one thing confuses me. Why, in that case, does the proposed amendment use vague terms like services, offers? Why does this amendment not say that we call on Cabinet to identify the resources necessary to improve and secure a new theatre and library complex? Why is that not in the amendment?
Councillor Chakwa.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just in support of this Councillor Kent motions, right? If we're going to shut it down, we should be thinking of a new one, understand? Because don't forget that this theatre represents community. And we should respect the wishes of the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Polly?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Councillor Fletcher's comments that there is passion in the room. We all heard that. I'm also perhaps a little bit older than some of the people in the room. And I remember the old Grays High Street, and when we look at the history, social history locally, there was a big surge in the 80s to concrete everywhere and do away with a lot of our history. I'm sure that was emotive at the time and not well received, but at the time that was believed to be taking leadership and providing better services for the then population of Thurrock. And here we are again. We've heard lots of anecdotes about childhood memories. Mine is of the State Cinema. In fact, I think we had 3 cinemas in Grays. We had the Regal, we had the Odeon, and we had the State Cinema. And I can remember seeing David Essex at the State Cinema. We had then a venue that could accommodate somebody of that stature. Over the years, the Thameside Theatre is meant to have enhanced and improved theatre services, but even when it was built, wasn't able to accommodate something of that ilk. We don't always need to attract outside talent because we have homegrown talent, and that needs to be supported. And we, to a degree, we have a flagship facility at the High House in Purfleet-on-Thames. In that it is an education. There is not another, globally, there is not another facility that can train people in theatre skills. It is not about acting and performance, but it is about the whole package but then those people, our young people that go to the college there and learn all these fabulous skills, they haven't got anywhere in Thurrock then to practice those skills and those things that they've learned. So I am obviously differing a little bit now because, and again, I do come from community and I believe in community a lot, and I do feel that a lot of the most successful projects that I've seen have been with community leads and but it still has to be structured, it still has to be...
Councillor Polly, can you sum up shortly?
Yeah, sure. So my point, to be clear, is that I would be supporting Councillor Snell's amendment because I think it is more the passion, the services, those we do not want to lose and will not lose in Thurrock. Thank you.
Councillor Gledhill.
Cover what other councillors have said and may have been slightly misinformed on one and probably just not aware of the way the Constitution works on another. Both Councillors Snell and I sat on the committee that looks at the provision at the Thames side. The words at the Thames side is a failing building and not ours. Actually those that were in part of that meeting and gave that report to us. I'm not going to go into technical details about what's too old to be serviceable and so on, but when the person from the theatre then said, this just isn't fit for purpose, we need it bigger, we need better wings, it needs to be taller, it needs to be wider and everything else, and we can't fit it in here. I'm taking the word of someone who knows what they're talking about. That's why we have these committees. The second one is that the reason that it's worded in the way that it is worded, Councillor Fletcher, is that our Constitution is very, very clear that we can't alter the motion too substantially. So by saying that we're going to definitely do something that's contrary to what's already there, it would have fallen outside from the monitoring officer. So why it's worded like this.
Councillor Ralph.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor King for mentioning the museum. Yeah, we have a great museum. It's tucked into one little area of the building, but as you rightly point out, we have 2 floors that are hidden away of all the items of historic importance to this area. And I know we've been talking about the building as a theatre. It's more than that. And with the amendment that we're putting, it comes down to the services that the building users have. So now if we can go to a wider area, having a better museum, a better library, and a better arts facility due to this, I think it's really positive. Now, we have been accused of not supporting the arts in Thurrock, and that's wrong. We are. We're passionate about it. Now, I look at the people outside, and that's brilliant. You know, it's a shame that Russell Brand don't hold his events at the Thames side. You know? Well, maybe he will, but he hasn't, has he?
Because he hasn't worked today. Give him time.
But he lived here. My daughter's performed at Thames side. Yeah, well, I know we've got lots of people that have made it in this area. They can't perform at Thames side because it's 300 seats. We need better provision. Well, I'd love to build this one. You know what? I was part of the CIC that took over a park and developed it. There's nothing stronger and committed than passionate, dedicated people. And that is what we need to take over the theatre, but we can build something better in the future.
Councillor Kent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to put a point of order. My point of order refers to section 1917, 1918 of the Constitution, where a member may alter a motion which he or she has moved without notice with the consent of both the meeting and the seconder. I've heard very clearly from Councillor Gledhill that if the Constitution had have allowed, then they would have gone further with their amendment, and they would have gone further by suggesting that a new theatre should be built. Madam Mayor, if that is what Councillor Gledhill is saying, then I'm happy to alter my motion in accordance with the Constitution.
Madam Mayor, and obviously, as I've been named, I do have the right to respond. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the amendment was put forward in line with discussions. Yeah, well, if you're going to heckle, that works both ways, and there's more of us, remember? So it's not the intention for the administration to say that in the amendment. The amendment is as is. The motion's already been moved, so it would now be wrong to correct it.
Right. Councillor Poppkerry, do you wish to speak as seconder the succinct motion?
Yes, please. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think tonight has been a little bit of an eye-opener for me because I hadn't been aware that a new arts and culture complex was what was being proposed. So it's great news to hear that that is something that in the future is going to be coming down the track, delivered by this Conservative Council. So we'll all look forward to the plans for that.
Come and join us!
There are things, Councillor Cockshaw, I would rather do that just than that. What I am interested in knowing, though, and making the point about, is the fact that it's all very well and good having lofty ideas that currently don't have a budget, that don't have any plans, that don't have any firm backing, that are right, that are things that you're just saying out loud now to get yourself out of a political hole, whilst also talking about closing the theatre, in 2 months' time? So what we have to make sure...
Let Councillor speak, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What we have to make sure is that the Thameside complex remains open, remains functional, remains with those lovely services that everybody here loves, until the day a new complex opens. The people of Thurrock deserve nothing less. And let's not forget that there is more housed in the building than the theatre, but I want to first of all address a couple of points that were raised. So Councillor Polly talked very passionately about your experiences in the borough, growing up in the borough, and clear passion. And High House is a wonderful resource. It does what it does well. It isn't a theatre in the sense that it could host those kinds of shows and those kinds of experiences that we're all talking about, that we want to be ambitious to do. It hasn't got that capacity. And apologies if that wasn't what you were implying, but other people have said that. Yes. Well, they've got the Thames side at the moment, which is better than nothing. And this idea about the community coming in and running the theatre, well, that's a brilliant idea. I'd fully support that. The problem is they have to have a theatre to run. They have to have a building. You can't put on a play of that kind of quality, that kind of standard, that we are in a building like this or in a village hall or whatever the buildings are that you're proposing for people to use. And, you know, Councillor Hewlin says Thurrock deserves a modern theatre. Completely agree. But this isn't what this is about. At the moment, what you're looking at is a budget-saving proposal with finances driving, finances in the whip hand, and it's not going to deliver for Thurrock. Councillor Ralph talked about museum pieces, and I'm so glad you talked about those museum pieces, Councillor Ralph, because I think there was a lack of understanding about what it takes to conserve, preserve, display and store artefacts. I work in that sector. There are certain ways you have to do these things. You can't stick them in a cardboard box and put them in a lock-up somewhere. They can't just be put.
Carey, can you sum up, please?
I will do. They can't just be put on display randomly. They have to have special cases, special temperature-controlled positions. And then I move on to the library. Grays Central Library. This is our biggest town, folks. We deserve a good central library. We deserve a children's library, a specialist children's library. We deserve more than 8 shelves and 2 PCs. That's a book swap. It's not a library. And we deserve to keep our central library. So I will wrap up now, Madam Mayor, because this isn't just about fond memories, though we do all have those at Thames side, but it is about making sure that future generations aren't robbed of their opportunity to perform on a professional stage, to do themselves proud, to study, to learn and to discover. And that goes for generations to come. So I would urge you all to support Councillor Kent's motion.
Councillor Snell, as the mover of the amendment, do you wish to have the right to reply?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we've heard pretty much all we need to hear, so we could just move to the vote, please.
Thank you. Councillor Kent, do you wish to sum up?
But thank you, Madam Mayor, and I've really enjoyed the debate, and in summing up, I'll try to do that thing that's seldom done at this council when people sum up, and that is to address issues that have been raised during the debate. And I think the issues fall into really 2 categories. We've heard from Councillors Little, Councillor Redhill, Councillor Duffin, and I think others, that all make the point that the theatre that we have is smaller than we'd like, it's older than we'd like, it's run down, and we would like a new theatre. I think when I spoke, I said that I was against closing the Thames side until such a time as a new theatre was in place. I'm not alone in that. The leader of the council has said that on at least 3 different occasions. And I don't think anybody here, be they a member in the chamber or a member of the public in the gallery, would actually disagree with that. We've heard a lot of talk from Councillor Snell and from Councillor Hewlin about a theatre service. And that's a weasel, they're weasel words. What they mean by a theatre service is not having a theatre. They do mean taking plays, taking shows on the road. You can't have a theatre service without a service. And this for me is about holding what you have. The Thames side may not be perfect, but I tell you what, before COVID, it was functioning fine as a theatre. We were putting on shows, we were putting on plays, people were coming, people were enjoying it. We can't allow it to close without a replacement being in place. Councillor Maney speaks of £16 million and says it's an eye-watering amount of money. He's quite correct. It is, in fact, the equivalent of 1 year's debt interest payment that this council is paying on its accumulated £1.3 billion of debt. Yes, it is. It's eye-watering. The 16 million. The 16 million came to corporate overview and scrutiny last week. The table was there. The first thing I did was had a look at the figures, and they didn't add up. You know, it had come to committee, and the figures didn't add up. And included in the 16 million was £2.5 million on contingency and project management. you know, that £16 million is frankly a wish list. There are stuff that needs to be done and stuff that needs to be done quickly. But actually, it's a 10-year programme, and much of it can be done for much less than is being suggested there. Madam Mayor, with that, I will close. I would like, if I can have 5 members standing, to ask for a recorded vote, and I urge members to vote for the original motion, not the amended.
Right, we will now go to the vote on the amendment. Can members clearly indicate by raising their hand whether they are...
Thank you, members. I'll call out your name if you can say whether you're for...
There was quite a lot of hubbub this side, and wasn't entirely too sure for all members would have heard exactly what's being voted on. Apologise for obviously this side of the chamber making so much noise.
Yeah. We will now vote on the amendment.
Okay. Councillor Abbas. Yes. Councillor Akin-Bowen. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Baker. Councillor Byrne. Councillor Carter. Councillor Chukwa. Councillor Churchwell, I believe, hasn't arrived yet. Councillor Collins isn't here. Councillor Cockshaw. Councillor Duffin. Councillor Fish. Councillor Fletcher. Councillor Gledhill. Councillor Howden. Councillor Hebb. Councillor Hewlin. Councillor Jeffries. Councillor Johnson. Councillor Kelly. Councillor Cathy Kent. Councillor John Kent. Councillor Kerrin. Councillor Lydiard. Councillor Little. Councillor Maney. Councillor Massey. Councillor Mays. Councillor Maldowney. Councillor Okanade. Councillor Onanaji. Councillor Pearce. Councillor Piccolo. Councillor Polly. Councillor Apothecary. Councillor Ralph. Councillor Raper. Councillor Redsell. Councillor Rigby. Councillor Shinnock.
Against.
Councillor Smith. Councillor Snell. Councillor Spillman. Councillor Tandy. Councillor Van Day. Councillor Watson. And Councillor Worrell.
Okay. The amendment's carried, and we now vote on the amended motion. Who's voting in favour? Right. Yeah, it's agreed. Thank you. Yes. Right, we're at the end of the meeting. We go to the next motion. Motion 2, yeah? Right. Motion 3. Shall I read out motion 2? Councillor Polly, Do you wish to propose and speak to your motion as printed on pages 751 of the agenda? Draw.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Motion to withdraw. Motion. You still got it on? Yeah, you've got. Yeah, we've got 5 minutes to speak, Councillor Polly.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. The motion is to acknowledge the lifting of the medical places, training places available, and to acknowledge the success of the young people in Thurrock with their A-level results. It's been a very testing year, as we've heard from everybody, and from Councillor May's report earlier on, and from other comments in the Chamber. I first joined the Chamber in 2004, and there was an under-provision of GPs at that time, and it has continued to be so. One of the things CQC and then PCT said that for some reason Thurrock was very difficult to recruit GPs, that they couldn't attract people into the borough. So I welcome the fact that there are more places available in Health Education England to train up homegrown talent, as we spoke about earlier. And that NHS England and NHS Improvement have got the GP National Recruitment Office targeting places that are hard to recruit GPs for. So I would celebrate the success of our young people in their A-level results, and I would welcome the initiative to train and recruit more GPs. Thank you.
Is that seconded? All right, it's all right. Okay. Right, we now go straight to the vote. Right, we go straight to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. That's the end of the meeting. Yeah. That concludes the business of the meeting. I now declare this meeting closed. I will like to take a 10-minute break before I start in November council meeting.